So what happened was I was having this asthma attack and I couldn't breathe. And then all of a sudden, I found myself flying through this wormhole. And I say it was a wormhole because the tunnel itself looked like, you know, how an earthworm is ridged on the side, on the outside. The tunnel itself looked like you're inside of this ridged worm, like the if you could imagine the inside of a worm. And there was this light that was pulling me toward it. And I realized that the light was actually all of these beings. I could feel, and I was raised Catholic, so I had an immediate awareness that this was the communion of saints that I'd heard in church, you know, my whole life. And that there were relatives of mine that were there, and, you know, ancestors and spirit guides, and so I was aware that the light itself was this love that was pulling me toward it.
So, welcome to the Numerology Show. My name is Hayden Crawford, and I'm a colour therapist and numerologist. And in this show, we explore the magic and mystery of numbers and their impact in our lives. So, I'm thrilled today to be joined by the fantastic special guest star who is Rachel Lang, and she is a numerologist, an astrologer, and a spiritual teacher. Now, Rachel is widely known for her expertise in astrology and numerology, and she helps people to align with their soul purpose and navigates life's challenges with and cosmic wisdom. She has been featured in numerous publications in her works, both with individuals and businesses, to decode the hidden messages of numbers and the stars as well. So, you know, it's very close to my heart. Rachel has authored two notable books. The first one, which is Modern Day Magic, which is 8 simple rules to realize your power and shape your life. And the second one is As Above, So Below, which is actually a really heartwarming children's book that introduces young readers to the wonders of the night sky and our connection with it. And I think that's so needed, Rachel. I really do. So, welcome to the Numerology Show. It's an absolute pleasure having you with me today. So, let's dive in.
Great.
First of
It's great to
all,
be here.
I'm really pleased that you're here with us, Rachel. I really am. It's amazing to actually speak to you in the flesh, you know. But I'm interested really to find out what actually drew you into numerology in the first place. So, how did your journey as a numerologist begin?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, the this all started when I first discovered astrology back when I was about 14 years old. And that was around the time when I discovered the New Age section of the public library. And so I learned astrology first. And then I started to realize that everything in astrology is based on the sacredness of mathematics and geometry, and I mean, and numerology is a part of that too. The different planets correspond with different numerological symbolism, and so it really started from that perspective.
Amazing. Okay, that's really interesting. So, I did have a little bird sort of mention to me that when you were around about that age, you'd also had a near-death experience. Did that contribute as well to your interest in exploring esoteric subjects?
Hmm. Yeah, great question. I've always been interested in it, and and I think what happened with my near-death experience is that it just opened a gateway for me. And I was about 19 years old when it happened, and I was at a party and I had an asthma attack. And suddenly I was swept into the light and going through the tunnel. And and the experience was so incredible. It was just the most beautiful, peaceful experience. And I came back, obviously, I came back and I was trying to put the pieces together of what had just happened to me. And after that happened, I'd always been aware of my gifts ever since I was a child. But after that experience, it seemed like everything just elevated. And I started really concentrating on my studies. I started going to schools, like different, learning from different astrologers, going to different metaphysical workshops and taking courses. And so everything evolved from there, kind of on a fast track. And so I think even though there wasn't a direct relationship between my interest and my near-death experience, I think the near-death experience opened up some kind of access that to psychic mediumship and to understanding the metaphysical realm that that just amplified my ability to explore those subjects.
Amazing. So, can you remember anything specific about that? Because you mentioned that you all of a sudden you were immersed in the light.
Yeah,
What else do you remember from that asthma attack? And then, did you leave your body? Did you go through a tunnel? Did you go anywhere else? Was there anything, more substantial you can share with us?
sure. Wow, I don't usually talk about it, so it's really thank you for the opportunity to speak about it. So what happened was I was having this asthma attack and I couldn't breathe, and then all of a sudden I found myself flying through this wormhole, and I say it was a wormhole because the tunnel itself looked like, you know, how an earthworm is ridged on the side on the outside. The tunnel itself looked like you're inside of this ridged worm, like the if you could imagine the inside of a worm. And there was this light that was pulling me toward it. And I realized that the light was actually all of these beings. I could feel, and I was raised Catholic, so I had an immediate awareness that this was the communion of saints that I'd heard in church, you know, my whole life, and that there were relatives of mine that were there, and you know, ancestors and spirit guides, and so I was aware that the light itself was this love that was pulling me toward it, and and I started to, you know, and when you're in that space, it's instant. Your thoughts are like instant knowing. There's no question, there's no confusion. It's just like, I know this is happening. And I knew that I was dying. And I was looking for the life review. I was looking for the things that I had thought that death would be like. And starting to wonder, am I going to heaven? Am I going to hell? And feeling this peace and feeling this love. And then all of a sudden, there was this big, huge starburst that was like an angel. And 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 it was telepathic communication. And they said to me in telepathy, "Are you ready to go?" And I hesitated, and I knew that because I hesitated, that I wasn't ready, and that there was still more work for me to do. And so it was with love and with grace and with peace, and I was shot back into my body. I woke up, and my friends were calling 911, and you know, they were all trying to figure out what to do. And and so that was the whole experience. It was I cried. I immediately cried because the contrast of how peaceful and how beautiful it was so different. And there was a part of me that thought, "Oh, why did I leave? That was so beautiful." And ultimately, I'm really glad that I did stay because I had a lot more to do, and I was so young that my life had just started. So yeah, so that was it. And what happened because I understood, because I experienced telepathy in that way, I I became aware of when I'm in sessions being able to read energy, being able to communicate in nonverbal language, like being able to read subconscious information, like all of that just it was something that I had become familiar with. And so I think that skill transferred over.
Yeah, I should imagine it did. How did you find other people responded to, what you were saying after you came back? Did you tell anyone, or did you keep it all to yourself until like later on?
I did. I I was still trying to figure out what happened. And um and I think in the immediate aftermath, I was really just trying to breathe again and and find my inhaler and all those things. I don't have asthma anymore, thankfully. So so that ended. But I was trying to express it to people, and nobody really could understand the full extent of what had happened. But fortunately, at that time, I had just started to get involved with a spiritualist church, and spiritualism is a religion that believes in our ability to communicate with those who've passed on. And so in that circle, there were people who understood what I went through, and it started to I started to start to put together the pieces of why this happened and what it meant and why did I come back and what am I here to do? And so all of that started to come together.
Yeah, I can imagine that would have been a pivotal time for you to really discover your purpose. And, it's almost like all your ducks lined up in a row with all the people that you're integrating with after the experience that understood and were guiding you into more and more deeply looking into working with spirit and specifically with astrology and numerology, which is fantastic. So I'm glad you came back, for starters.
Thank
But
you.
what's
Me
been your
too. I'm very
most,
happy about
I know, I bet you are. It's
that.
lovely to have you back with us. And what's been one of the most profound experiences that you feel like you've had with numerology, though, like over the years?
hmm Well, I think for me, again, numerology and astrology go hand in hand for me. And so I think one of the most profound experiences I've had with numerology is in the looking at just the sacred geometry, the sacred numerology of the 360-degree wheel in the zodiac, the zodiacal wheel, and seeing all the different principles of harmonics that go into understanding the way that numbers and ratios create discordance or create harmony. And so anytime I look at a chart, I'm seeing that sacred mathematics. I'm seeing principles of numerology at play in the different shapes and aspects that are represented. And so that's been a very profound, constant learning. And even now in my astrology, I'm really working with an aspect called the novile. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of this one?
No, I've not heard of that. Can you elaborate?
Okay. Okay. So the novile is when you divide the chart, the 360-degree chart by nine. And you know the numerology of nine. The numerology of nine is esoteric. It is humanitarian, but it's also endings. It's also the pinnacle of a movement in your life. It's the end of a cycle. And I'm starting to see the way that people who have noviles in their chart are really strongly represented are here as almost like little angels or little spiritual beings who are not supposed to have a traditional life. And there's a real spiritual quality to that aspect. So that's really driven me into looking at the number nine and looking at the ninth harmonic. And that's, it's interesting because this year, 2025, is a 9 year. And so I feel like that's really where a lot of my attention is going, is what does it mean to be looking at endings, and that nine is the bridge between one cycle and another. It's the bridge between death and life. I mean, it's really it's a it's a spiritual number. So I'm geeking out about that right now.
I love that. And I'm a ruling number nine or a life path number nine
Are
in numerology. Yeah.
you?
So it's probably the number that I identify with the most as well. So we've got something
Wow.
else in common there. Like in the color mirror
Yes.
system that I work with, bottle number nine is called Mars. And it's this beautiful red over orange because nine relates to Mars, which is
Yes.
fire energy. And you saw what happened at the beginning of this year with all the fires in California. It was massive, wasn't it?
It was massive, and there are fires now in other parts of the world, in other parts of the United States too. So yeah, so that is, yeah, I thought about that correlation between Mars and nine, and the fire and the element of fire in astrology is, esoterically speaking, is about division. It's about taking things to the molecules of things and breaking them apart and then allowing them to reconstruct into something else. So I think that fire is very much connected to the number nine and to Mars.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting because the fire element was gifted to the earth through the Lyrans. And the Lyrans are the sort of feline beings, cat-like beings, some of them, and some of them are bird-like from a small constellation in the night sky, Lyra, which is surrounded by
Mhm.
Hercules, Cygnus, and Draco. And a lot of the Lyran starseeds that are on the earth, they are specifically working with base chakra red energy stuff, so the whole safety, security, survival, and, all of the adventure and the energy, activity, mobility stuff. So it's interesting that that also plays its part in the nine fiery Mars energy. And of course, it's also about war and look at what's
Right.
taking place, across the
I know.
planet as well with those very red, flagged countries, with the war and all of those endings and new beginnings that are taking place within the US at the moment and, across the whole planet as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I guess my next question to you is with regards to, what you've got coming up over
Mhm.
the next few months. I noticed that you're going to be participating in hosting a retreat in Sedona. Can you elaborate more about the numerology of that event and how that synchronizes with the work that you're doing with the moon in Neptune and Pisces?
Absolutely. Well, that retreat is more of an astrology. It's the focus is really on astrology and on Neptune moving into Aries, which is as the start of a new 14-year cycle. And Aries is that it's the first degree of the zodiac. So think about the number one. Neptune is going to be at that degree at that very beginning stage, really giving us a reset for all the things that Neptune relates to, which are the arts and music, healing and health. Neptune is the planet of our spiritual consciousness. And so we're getting ready for a whole new paradigm in the entertainment industry, in healthcare, in health, in the way that we have compassion for one another, in our dreams, our collective storytelling. And so the retreat is really about that cycle and about entering into some intention setting and collective dreaming to see what we can create in the world. So for ourselves personally, but also for larger uh, communities. So it's an exciting event, and it's a 3-day retreat.
And it starts on the 28th, doesn't it, of March? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
It
which
does.
is the 28
Uh-huh.
is all about new beginnings. In the color mirrors, bottle
Exactly.
28 is this beautiful um, turquoise and yellow bottle, and it's called New Beginnings. So it's like the
Huh.
freshest form of spring rebirth. So it's a really good date for you to be hosting this event over, I feel. And interesting that you were talking about number seven as well as being Neptune. Neptune is number seven in the color mirrors, which is turquoise. And Neptune was the Roman god of the sea or the king of Atlantis. So we often find this Aquarian energy comes up with the color turquoise, which is new earth, so it's like that evolution and the return
Mm.
of the wisdom from Atlantis as
Mm.
well. So
Oh, that is so beautiful. That I hadn't drawn that connection with the Atlantean connection. But yes, I mean, Neptune is the god of water. Neptune is the planet that relates to water and major water events too. And so yeah, so that's what the whole retreat is about. And a lot of my work this year is about that Neptune entering Aries. So there you have the water and the fire together. And you have that seven number with the one number of Aries and then the nine of Mars ruling Aries. That's it's a significant turning of energies, moving from this Piscean energy, which is very much, mystical, transcendent. About non-attachment to the physical and material. And we're going from that to how can we create and use our creative power to manifest the kind of paradigms that we want to live into.
yeah, I love that. That's amazing and interesting as well because the seven is very significant to me as well because it's my day number because I was born on the 16th of October. So they are my soul colors, the red and orange and the turquoise. So it's very interesting that the water puts out the fire as well. So the elements that you're working with are very good at helping to, defuse, I suppose, or put the rage of the planet out and to refocus it or reframe it to a certain
Mm-hmm.
extent, which is
Yes.
amazing. Okay, then. So many people think that numerology is just about your life path number, or what I call your ruling number, which dictates your true soul purpose. But how do you explain the deeper layers of numerology beyond all
Mm.
of that?
Mm. I think numerology, uh, I think numerology relates to like the deeper archetypal wisdom that we all have within us. And so I think it's a way of contextualizing where we are at any given year, knowing that this is, a 3 year for me. I know how to approach this year, and I know what kinds of things to move forward with, and I know like all the tendencies of the 3 year, and so it's a way of orienting ourselves and knowing collectively that now is a 9 year. Well, it's evident to see that 9 year in action. And so I think that it's numerology. It's a way of placing ourselves, locating ourselves within the greater story, within the greater context of what's happening in the world and what's happening in our relationships. So that's one way I think of it. And then I also think of it in terms of that sacred mathematics, which is, number that sacred mathematics it's the harmonic principles that underlie everything. The harmonies, the discords, the way that we experience the breakdown of different things in our lives. Yeah, so I really think of numerology in that deep in that deep way.
Yeah, and that's brilliant that you explore it so deeply into the harmonics, because I actually believe that numerology, along with color therapy, is the language of light. And so we
Hmm.
can really access the basis of creation. If you think about, the 3, 6, and 9, and you explore
Yeah,
that really deeply, you can see that it is the secret God code, so it sits behind the creation of everything. It's embedded within things like the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence, and of course, when the
absolutely.
cells split. And the 9 is one of those numbers that, it never loses its integrity, does it? So Tesla
Right.
works with those principles, indeed, to help to be able to look at the design of the matrix itself and the nature of existence. So,
Mhm.
have you had any profound insights yourself based around, not only the wisdom that you received from the other side, but also through your own research? What's been like that aha moment for you with numerology?
I have aha moments every single day. Uh, but I think most recently, I think one of the aha moments I've had is is about, you know, is about, and I have to think about this for a second because the nines, I'm really into the nines right now, and that's like my big aha, like what an ending means. And that it really doesn't, it sometimes it does mean the end of a relationship or the end of an era, end of a chapter, but sometimes it means a shift in consciousness that awakens something else inside that is esoteric and that can't be felt or touched. And so I've really had some aha moments about nines. The other aha moments I've had with numerology have to do with the numerology of homes and the addresses. And this is on a very practical level. This isn't, I'm going as far away from the esoteric as possible and just looking at the numerology of the address that you live in. And, it's so funny. We almost bought a home that had a 9 address. And we asked, we have certain numbers that, like, we're not going to buy a home with that address because of different experiences we've had. And with that 9 home, we could see how it would have been, uh it would have represented the closing of chapters that were closing, but also it would have been like a lot of work. And I've seen since then people who I love and care about having 9 homes and like little things going wrong, like the ending of a water heater cycle or the ending of, a roof. And so these kinds of little things add up. And then once it's fixed, then there's this whole new way of experiencing the home. So there's a constant process of transformation and transmutation that happens when you're enclosed in a space that has a numerological significance. Yeah, what about you? What kind of aha things have you had? Or have you experienced that with homes?
Oh, 100%. Well, I live in a house number 33. And it's a magical house. We built this house and we lived here longer than we've lived anywhere before. And,
Hmm.
I'm an Andromedan starseed. So we've traveled across the planet and lived in loads of different countries. We've never really settled anywhere. So both me and my husband, Mark, we're both born on October the 16th, although there's one year between us. So he's a ruling number 8 and I'm a 9. So he does all the math, all the banking and
Yeah, yeah.
finances, and I
Uh-huh.
do all the humanitarian stuff. So it works really well. But yeah, this 33 house that we live in is huge for us because it's the number that represents Christ consciousness. So
Hmm.
there's been 3 babies born in this house as well. So creation, the 6 is creation. It's that
Yeah,
Venusian energy, the 6.
it is.
And, it's just been such a creative house where there's been lots of projects on the go. This is where, I wrote my first book as well, the Starseed Ascension Guide, and did my cosmic family oracle cards and all of that sort of stuff. So
Wow.
it's been profoundly creative space for me, and where my imagination has been able to run riot as well. So,
Mm.
um, and of course, that correlation between myself and my husband, when we met each other, there was this instant recognition that we both had the same birthday, but there was enough similarities between our personality blueprint that we understood each other, but enough differences that it wouldn't become same, like marrying yourself.
Uh-huh.
So there's been so many, so many amazing. I first started learning numerology actually through the doctrine of signatures in the Australian bushflower essences and how
Oh, wow.
the numerology of the flowers, the number of petals that a flower has, tells us something about its therapeutic qualities. So I've been so deeply intrigued by how nature communicates with us through numerology, the language of light, not only through numbers, but through color as well. So it's been amazing. But I'm more interested in you because, you say you're in a personal year
Mhm.
three. Now, if you don't
Yes.
mind me asking,
Yes.
what's your life path number, your ruling number?
It's an 8.
Ah, you're an eight, are you as well?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I am. Uh-huh. I was like, should I
brilliant.
admit this?
No, it's all right. I married one. I married an eight.
Uh-huh.
So, that's you're in good company. That
Uh-huh.
I like being bossed around. I like it. I like somebody else dominating me, so that
Yeah.
that works, but no, it's
Mhm.
interesting that you're an eight in a three. So are you finding
Mhm.
that it's all about consciousness and social expansion for you then this year? Are you learning lots of new things and are you broadening your social circles this year as well? Is that what's taking place?
Yes. Yes, that's a really good way of describing it. And I'm writing a new book, and I started my podcast last year, and I'm working to develop it this year. And so yeah, so it feels very much like lots of different possibilities that I have to be very focused about. And that was, I remember I was reflecting on this actually before our conversation today. And the last 3 year I had 9 years ago, it was wild. I mean, just like unfocused but there was a lot that happened in that year that was really significant. I started dating my wife and the woman who became my wife and I shaved my head. I mean, I went through all the typical 3 year stuff, and this one feels much more grounded. But I think three is one of my favorite numbers. I love three. I love the energy of three. It is very social. It's social and expansive at the same time. And three is connected to Jupiter, so it really does feel like anything's possible.
It is, yeah. Number three actually relates to Jupiter in the color mirror system. So this is called Jupiter, and it's that
Ah,
expansive vibration. So this is actually the color coral is the color of
mm.
Christ consciousness. It's where pink love and yellow power come together for the purpose of expansion. So it's a brilliant year for all of those things, and especially because you're writing your new book. What's that about?
So it's about money. It's about abundance and it's about astrology and money and I'm just in the very beginning stages of it right now. So it's still have a long way to go, but it's yeah, it's been a really fun process.
Great.
Mhm.
Oh, amazing. Well, that sounds amazing. I love anything to do with how to, maximize on the amount of abundance that we allow ourselves to experience. It's brilliant, isn't it? Ah. So what
Mhm.
about the role of master numbers then? Do you know much about them? Because the master number 11, 22, and
Yes,
33
yes.
in some forms of numerology, like Pythagorean, we don't sort of say 33, like a master number 33, we reduce it down to the six. Because
Right, right.
there is this belief that, because of the timeline that we're on the earth, that no humans really can
Mhm.
attain Christed consciousness when we're living on such dualistic times. But how do you think those master numbers are playing out at this time, of global transformation?
Yeah, I think so. I am an 8, 11, 9. So of that on number 11, that's my number. And I'm born on the 11th of October. So 11's my girl or my number. I'm very connected to the master numbers. And I work in a similar way that you do, that I break everything down to the single digit. Um, but I think more and more people are. are understanding the potential of their own master numbers in their chart. And I also think that master numbers, that people who have master numbers prominently in their numerology, that they really do feel this dedication to teach or to be of service in some way. And sometimes that can feel like a lot of pressure, but it also comes with this strong sense of purpose or meaning. And I think that more and more, I mean, more and more people are getting in touch with angel numbers and starting to see number sequences or be aware of number sequences that are showing up in their lives. And so I think that our angels, that our spirit guides, that the universe is communicating to us through these master numbers in ways that are really reaching people right now more than ever. What are some number sequences that you're seeing a lot right now in your work?
So it's interesting because I get a lot of sort of number sequences that are like the one, two, three, four, five, sort of very linear number
Mm.
patterns, which at this point of my journey, it's really about sort of getting organized and planning, so it's like the arrow of the planner in Pythagorean numerology, which is getting like making sure that things are structured, that they're done properly, and that I'm following processes because I'm a scattered Libran, most of my houses and planets in my natal chart are in air signs. So you can imagine, that's why I think that I've always been attracted to the color red because it's a very grounding and earthy color and it helps me to focus. So yeah, I would say those linear sequences specifically over this period, being a ruling number nine in a universal year nine, this has really amplified my ambition. So I have to be very careful that I remember to enjoy life
Mm.
as well because I can become very obsessed with my work and work really long hours. So of course,
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of the triple nine energy as well. What about you? What's
Mhm.
been the dominant ones that you've noticed?
Yeah. It's interesting because I've noticed a lot of threes this year, like 333, different numbers that break down to 33 or three. And so I think that's just because I'm in a 3 year. And so that's one of my numbers. But I also notice that more of the the 111, 1111, those are always number sequences that show up for me. And those are definitely, since the start of this year, they have really been up, which I think it makes sense because anytime I'm aware of those specific number sequences, they usually represent some kind of new beginning or some kind of uh, an awareness that I'm being guided, or that there is some kind of angelic presence moving moving things along, like introducing new opportunities. And I've definitely had that feeling throughout the year. And
So working with
if
your
I could
angels and
add
guides
one,
closely. So you feel like
exactly,
you're working with your
exactly.
angels and guides closely. Which angels and ascended masters do you work with?
hmm I work with whoever comes into my sessions. So sometimes I'm working with different clients, and their guides and their angels are very present with me. In particular, I'm really drawn to Metatron. I'm also really drawn to, uh, gosh, there's like a whole pantheon. Um, to Athena, obviously being a Libra, having that strong sense of justice. Uh, mm, and then Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, the divine feminine embodied in those ways, is also one that's very close to me.
Yeah, I feel that very strongly as well with Kuan Yin. We've had a statue of Kuan Yin in our house ever since we got together, and when we bought her, we got her from a feng shui store, and we didn't even know who she was, and she's just been sitting there. And then, of course, my consciousness grew, I was like, oh, the divine goddess of compassion and mercy, and she kind of appears everywhere, now, and
Hmm.
also Yeshua, of course, and Metatron is actually one of the governing archangels as well within the color mirror system. So it's a magenta energy that comes in with Archangel
Yeah.
Metatron, and
Oh my
this is
gosh, that's
yeah,
my
it's the
favorite color.
magenta.
That's uh-huh, yeah,
Well, it
yeah.
would be. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about it, right, your day number is an 11. Okay, so the 11
Uh-huh.
is this bottle here, which is called duality, which is deep
Ooh.
magenta over clear. So,
Yeah, I
the
love that.
11's like you. Your day number 11, it means that you learn through issues of separation. So there is this magenta
Mm.
vibration, which carries the vibration of red and violet. So it's the heaven and the earth. So you're a bridge that connects the heaven and the earth. And of course, that's why there is this deep connection with Metatron for you. And the divine feminine archetypes like Mother Mary and Kuan Yin are, it's just very in alignment with your work. So I'm not surprised that they are your primary and secondary ascended masters that you're working with. But if we look at your colors together as well, because you're a life path 8 with a day number 11, you've got your
Mm-hmm.
violet, which 8 is lilac over violet, which connects to spirit. So many of the 8s have got clairvoyance. And of course, the 11s as well, highly intuitive, sensitive, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. But often, there is this aspect of you needing to learn about unity consciousness through the opposite of that, which is duality. So it's like you may experience separations as you go through your life, or you may, become a great life coach, spiritual teacher, or social worker because you can only ever take people as far as you've been yourself. And that's how,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of energy plays itself out. And being a Libran like me, you've got that lovely Venus shining down on you as well, which is perfect, really. So relationships for you, both parties really do need to be standing in their own light and power because the 11 is like two pillars of light standing side by side. So for Librans who are all about relationships, for those to work really well for you because you are very independent by nature, being the 8, you've got to have that independence. So no room for codependencies in relationships for you.
It's so true.
It's
It's so
fascinating, isn't
true.
it?
Wow, you're good. Yeah, yeah. Definitely. I love that. I love the color, the your work with color is so interesting to me because I've always been I didn't even know this until I met you. I didn't even know this that the system was something, but I can see, I see color in astrology. You can actually look at certain transits and certain astrological signatures and know what Pantone colors are going to be in range, what the colors people are going to wear at awards shows. I mean, you can see things down to that kind of level, and I hadn't thought to connect it with numerology or with the life path number, but that is really like incredible.
It's mind blowing. It really is a fascinating thing because obviously you've got the number vibration which aligns with the astrological signs as well. Like if you think of Leo, Leo
Hmm.
is, it's very much about
Oh,
the self, the leader, and so it's yellow,
right.
that comes up a lot
Yep.
for Leo. And Aries is
Yeah,
red, which is connected to the fire elemental, and actually Libras, it's green because green is
it
about
is.
balance because it's the color that's right in the center of the color spectrum. You've got red, orange, yellow, then green, blue, indigo, and violet. So the green is the balance. And of course,
Yeah.
we've got to throw in a bit of pink Venus stuff as well.
I know. I was going to say pink too.
Pink,
Yes.
yeah, that's it. So green
Yeah.
and pink, the heart energy. So that's
Uh,
wonderful. Okay, so if someone feels stuck in their life path, like how do you feel that numerology can help them get back on track?
mhm. Well, I think it gives it helps them get a roadmap. So if they know, I think knowing what what where you are in that 9-year cycle, knowing where you are can help you to focus on what what kinds of things to do to get unstuck, or at least just to have a sense of why you might be stuck. If it's a 7 year, then maybe it's a year for going on a retreat and for not doing a lot of output, but for pruning back or taking advantage of wherever you are. And so I think that's one way that it can help is just helping you um to give yourself a little bit of extra compassion if things aren't moving the way that you'd like them to. And then I think too, it can help knowing your own numerology. It can help know when you are stuck. Well, here are things that my numerology points to, and if I focus on that range of skills or develop these talents or lean into that, then that can help you become unstuck.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's a powerful tool, isn't it, for being able to almost like shine a spotlight on what you're here to
Yes.
do. So, my own journey, I used to work in corporate IT recruitment for 15 years, amongst like other occupations before that. But I always
Mhm.
used to feel like I was living someone else's life. And of course, the nine it doesn't really fit well into the corporate environment because they've got to feel like they need to be of service. So they rarely succeed as senior business executives. So when I discovered like my ruling number, it helped me to be able to make better decisions for myself. And when I started knowing what I was actually here to do, I just did that, and then everything else kind of just fell into place. So it becomes a very powerful roadmap to help you make the best decisions for yourself, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And I think the combination of numerology and any other form of self-knowledge, that's ultimately, I think, the opportunity in learning that and to gaining that information is to accept yourself and to know that, hey, you're not supposed to be in the corporate environment. And if you try to do things the way that you think you should, then you might hit those brick walls.
Yeah, absolutely. So that relationship between numerology and astrology then, like how would you best describe that relationship?
Yeah. The I think the relationship is complementary. Well, first of all, a lot of what we know about the way that planets are aspecting one another, the a lot of astrology is based in numerology, and numerology is its own system of self understanding. And so I think they really complement one another, and that there are there are connections. I mean, every planet is associated with a number. The way that planets relate to one another is based on ratios and numerology. And so I think numerology is like the mathematics that underlies astrology, and also they're two separate systems that reach people in different ways.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the planets as well, they connect to numbers as well. So of course that's a massive connection, isn't it? With um, like I don't know, the moon being connected to number two, and the Earth and Uranus being connected to number four, and Neptune with number seven, and Mars number nine. So that is a very powerful correlation too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it can help you to really delve deeply into, I don't know, like exploring the more subtle qualities, I suppose, of
Mm-hmm.
the personality blueprint.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what's next on your journey then? I know you mentioned that you're writing this next book, which is going to incorporate, how to powerfully manifest abundance.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've got your retreat coming up in Sedona, but how is it all going to be shaping out for Rachel Lang, as we move forward into the new earth energies, being this beautiful day number 11, which means, you are a guide for humanity as we emerge into this new dawning. What do you see yourself? How do you see yourself participating in that?
Mm. Well, I'm really involved in public service, so I do a lot. I'm elected. I'm an elected member of my local city council. I'm very involved with things within the county. I sit on a number of boards, so I've been seeing this evolution, this new paradigm coming, and doing everything I can to just be available, to be of service as we continue to move through these transitions that will definitely be moving through between now and 2027. So that's one thing. And then I'm doing a lot of teaching and writing my book, which it's just started. So that's how writing a book is. It's a long it's a long process. So in 2 years from now, there will probably be a book out. But yeah, that's really what I'm doing. I'm seeing wherever I'm needed and finding a way to go there. But doing a lot more with uh, with public service.
Beautiful. I love that. That's
Mhm.
that's so good, and it's such a worthy cause. So, do you feel then that that by you dedicating yourself to being more of service in that way, that you are really fulfilling what you've come here to do? Do you feel like is that meaningful for you?
Very much so. Yeah, yeah. Um, I love, I mean, in addition to having an 11, like having 11 represented in my numerology, I also have a sixth house stellium in my natal chart. And so really, I mean, everything I do in my life, it's coming from a place of where can I be of service? And so it's definitely part of and it's my North Node path and all of these things. Uh, so yeah, so that's really my focus. It does feel very meaningful right now, and it feels like now is a time when everything is amplifying, and where the kind of work that we do 10 years ago nobody was really like there's more attunement now than there has been in my career. And so I think that people are really ready for to be guided and to elevate their own consciousness. So
Yeah,
I love that.
100%. Yeah, it's the
Mhm.
perfect time to be doing the work that we do. So, your podcast you mentioned as well briefly. Could you
Yes.
explain more about what that's all about?
Sure, sure. So it's the Rachel Lang Show. And it is a show that blends spirituality, astrology, current events, pop culture. And it's really it's meant to be sort of a respite for people while we're going through this time of transition, uh, to help find meaning in all of the chaos, and also to find a little bit it's almost like a sanctuary to connect uh, with spiritual information with other the people I interview are people who are in different fields but have interesting perspectives. So that's really what it is.
Now that sounds amazing. I'll definitely be tuning into that. And so, where else can people find you then, Rachel? You've got your own website. I mean, I'll put all the details in the description of the video below. But where's the best people if they feel a strong resonance towards you and they want to work with you? Where do they find you?
My website is rachellangastrologer.com. And that's a good, I'm also on all the socials. So Instagram, TikTok, you name it.
Fantastic. So amazing. I'm sure there'll be loads of people reaching out for your divine guidance. And it's been such a fascinating conversation that we've had together. So thank you so, so much for sharing all of your wisdom and your insights and your journey. Wow,
Mhm.
and how that, all of that can play such a powerful role in our own lives. And for anybody who is watching who'd like to, know more about Rachel, then please do go to her website and make sure that you also listen to her podcast and follow the work that she does. And if you have enjoyed today's episode, then please don't forget to like and subscribe and to hit the bell so that you never miss any of my episodes. You can also get my latest book as well, which is the Starseed Ascension Guide, which is now on Amazon, which took me 8 years to write, actually. So, I never thought I'd be an author, but there it is. Then make sure you do that, or you can learn more about the courses that I offer on Dreamtime uh, academy.com as well, where you can learn more about numerology, etc., and color therapy too, and the Color Mirrors practitioner training program. So until next time, just trust in the divine guidance of the numbers, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks again, Rachel. We really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much, Hayden.
Bye for now.